What's up? It's the Deck Talking Devil back with y'all again for another episode of what I'm sure will be a short video. Uh, don't, don't pay that any attention. Strap yourself in, grab some popcorn. We'll be here for a while. Grab a Snickers. If you hadn't already, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the share button, subscribe, turn on those notifications so the next time there's a new video, you'll be the first to know. Uh, I wanted to talk about a subject that I kind of alluded to the fact that I'll be doing a video on, and that is the storming of the Capitol. We all know that tragic event that took place January 6th here in the United States of America. It was something that I never thought that I'd see in my lifetime, and I'm pretty sure that many of you may have thought the same thing. Now, I did, because I'm kind of like real big into AI, and I think that some things show up in Hollywood or in cinema that are kind of foreshadowing of things that are to come. Not saying that I believe that there's some kind of secret cabal that's kind of predetermined everything that's going to happen or anything like that. What I'm kind of alluding to, maybe it kind of seems like self-fulfilling prophecy. Like we have an imagination and we think of what it would be like to go to Mars. And if we found life on Mars, what that life would look like. And so we start projecting our imagination into cinema, into movies and books and comics and things of that nature. And then eventually we start actually saying, hey, what if we really could go? What would the craft have to be like to take us there? And then we start working on the craft, and it's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. You see what I'm saying? So I think all of these movies like Hunger Games and things of that nature, where you got a government set up, let's see, Altered Carbon. It's another movie, like how we're moving towards that way of life. Like we'll have flying vehicles and all of this kind of stuff. The gap between the rich and the poor gets even bigger. I think that's going to happen, and then it's going to lead to some kind of revolution or revolt, where it's basically the haves and the have-nots that has always been around. I think it'll just be exacerbated to a state where the contrast is something that we've never seen, and the revolution or revolt against this is greater than we've ever seen. So I think that's far out there. Maybe another 200 years. But I do believe something like that is eventually going to happen. So, but here in these United States, we had a group of people gather together and listen to a speech given by the president at the time, Donald Trump, and encouraged to fight for democracy, to fight for the nation to be strong. And it's been said that he incited the riots and led these people to march down to the Capitol and storm the Capitol in a violent manner, even chant, hang Nancy Pelosi or hang Mike Pence, and looking for Nancy Pelosi and things of that nature. You know, what happened, especially with the lives of those or those lives that were lost during this incident, I think is very tragic. But I think we have to deal with some things that led us here. rewind the tape. Let's go back and see how does a people as educated as we are, as civil as we are, how does a people as moral as we are end up carrying out such a grotesque act of blatant ignorance? Because this screams ignorance, misinformation. I would actually say that it is a failure of the educational system. I honestly would say that had people been taught how to analyze information, how to use reason and logic to come to conclusions, then I don't think that we'd ever have January 6, 2021. I don't think that could have possibly happened had we been taught how to use logic and reason when assessing claims that are being made, assertions that are being made, devoid of any evidence, devoid of sufficient evidence, should I say. I think that's the problem here. So I don't want to look at this solely on the actions that happen, people scaling the walls and sitting in the vice president's chair and sitting in Nancy Pelosi's desk, and I don't want to even deal with that, because I think until we deal with this failure in logical reasoning, being able to analyze information and discern whether or not the information is legitimate, then I think we will repeat January 6th. So QAnon supposedly is this far right movement that believes that there's a Satan worshiping cabal of pedophiles that are basically running the government, maybe even the world. And a lot of things were gonna happen. You know, the inauguration was not supposed to happen. Joe Biden was never supposed to be sworn in, but he was, and so we see a shift, and we'll get some other information that, you know, a bunch of people in the government be rounded up. You know, some even say maybe executed or just in prison, whatever the case may be. And then Trump will be brought back in, and yada yada, so on and so forth. What my issue is where does the assessment, the critical thinking take place? I hear the claim. I'm not dismissing it out of hand, right? Because I don't think we should do that. I think when people have claims or assertions, you're claiming something is going to happen. Okay, let's stop right there. Based on what evidence? So, based on what evidence am I to believe that Joe Biden will not be sworn in? Where is the evidence for that? If you cannot produce the evidence to support the claim, sufficient evidence, not hearsay, not just stories, but actual evidence. If you can't produce the evidence, that should lead me to that conclusion that Joe Biden would not be sworn in, then why would I believe it? So I left the church after over 30 years of being a Christian and over 17 years of being in ministry. All right. I left the church. I was a licensed minister, pastor, yada, yada, yada. I had all kinds of positions and all of this stuff. I left the church because a light bulb went off. Light bulb went off. And I started to assess, evaluate the information that I was believing. And I started to look at whether the claims made in the Bible were actually true, and whether or not the evidence that was presented for the claims was substantial or sufficient, rather. And over again, the only evidence that I could come up with was anecdotal evidence. So supposed eyewitness testimony, hearsay, stuff that in no court of law would be allowed or thought to be credible. And yet here I am basing my entire life on stuff that I had nowhere proven. And so the default position was, you got to take it on faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So you had to take it on faith. But then you analyze whether or not faith is a good way to arrive at truth. Is faith a reliable method to get me to truth? Or is faith synonymous to flipping a coin and making decisions based on the outcomes? So if we can prove that faith is not a reliable method to get me to truth, then why use it? And so I had to abandon that position because I felt that that position, the Christian position, was untenable. And so I had to abandon it. Because I started evaluating whether or not the claims made in that religion were true. Whether or not it was sufficient evidence to warrant belief. And there was not. I would be a fool to now, since I abandoned one untenable position, to take up another untenable position, to start believing other lines of thinking and ideologies that are unsupported by evidence. And it is not evidence. It's a fallacy. Ad popularum or something like that. It basically means you can't appeal to something being true. You can't determine its truth value based solely on whether or not the majority of people believe it. Right? And that's one of the arguments you always get with Christianity. So you saying all of these millions of people wrong. You know, as if because it's millions of people believing something that it's true. Millions of people believe that the earth was flat at one point, and all of those millions were wrong. Millions of people believe that the earth was at the center of the solar system, and the sun and everything else revolved around it. And they were wrong. Millions of people believe that teeth decayed because of tooth worms. Worms, actual worms, got inside your teeth and ate them out. You know, some of the fallacious stuff that millions of people believed doesn't lend any credence to whether or not it's true. So here we are with not just QAnon, right? Because I could say the same stuff, and look, Anybody that know me know I love Bobby Hemmett. Bobby Hemmett was a legend. You know, the guy was hilarious to me. But some of the stuff that Bobby would say, you was like, man, get the hell out of here. You know, like, dude, that don't even make sense. Like, I'm not even, you know, but it was Bobby. And so you respected Bobby, so you didn't take him to task on it, but you just disregarded that part because you know it wasn't nothing to it. Bobby Hemmett believed everybody was cloned. You know, you listen to Bobby, he talk about different people being cloned. You know, like, damn, Bobby, is it any real motherfuckers right here? You know, according to Bobby, man, everybody a clone. He believes some stuff that I did not accept because I had already reached the point to where I'd started to evaluating the truth value of something based on evidence for it and withholding belief in something until there was sufficient evidence for it. All right, this is what you call skepticism. All right, I am skeptic about a lot of stuff, and I try to apply skepticism to everything in my life. So you can even point to that. You can go back to Delbert Blair, right? You can go back to Dr. Delbert Blair and all the UFO stuff. You can go to Dr. Phil Valentine, who I studied under for a while at University of Commission Sciences. Let's see. This is his book right here. The Wounded Womb. Dr. Valentine. All right. Yeah. The Wounded Womb. I studied under him, and some of the stuff that, you know, he say I had to disregard. But I listened to these guys because there was elements of truth in things that they were saying. And you have to be mature enough intellectually to be able to decipher, to separate, to weed out truth from opinion. Okay, and if you cannot do that, then leave it alone altogether. My point is that it didn't just start with QAnon. People have been believing things without evaluating the truth value or without evaluating the evidence to determine the truth value of what they believe for centuries, millennia. I mean, hell, that's how you get religions in the first place. And so because we see ourselves as this religious nation, right? We see ourselves as a Christian nation, even though that is as far from the truth as you can get. America is not and never have been a Christian nation. That's how certain members of society see ourselves, Christian nation. And if we go back to that root, to that beginning, it's a telltale sign of how we got to where we are. Because if you believe the nation was founded on a book that has no evidence to support its claims, then you've been introduced into fallacious thinking from the inception of the country. And so it's built into the system. It's institutionalized ignorance. All right? That has set people up, made the environment conducive for this kind of thinking, made the typical American susceptible to this kind of deceit, because it's indoctrinated them not to evaluate the truth value based on evidence, to just accept it on blind faith instead of deep investigation, research, critical thinking and analysis, logic, reason, these things. And so I think the problem far precedes QAnon and what happened January 6th. I think that's just a small example, a manifestation of what this kind of thinking can produce. All right, we have to get back to logic, and so I want to introduce a book here. See that? A Concise Introduction to Logic. Patrick Hurley and Lori Watson. A Concise Introduction to Logic. Get the book. If you don't know how to think logically, if you've never studied logic officially, right? Studying logic is not you and your uncle getting high and talking about deep conversations. You know, it's not studying logic. If you've never officially studied logic, I think that's a good book to start with. All right. Before you get into like Socrates and before you get into thinking about ethics and the book, What We Owe Each Other, and the trolley experiments and all of this kind of stuff, I think that's a better place to start before you get into that stuff, those deeper issues that are really gonna cause you to think. A concise introduction to logic is going to show you how to identify bad arguments. All right, it's going to show you how to judge the truth value of the argument, whether or not the argument meets two criteria that are very important. Is it valid and is it sound? Valid and sound. Valid just speaks to whether or not the argument is structured properly. Sound speaks to whether or not the premises are true or not. All right. And then you'll be able to spot an argument that is not true, that is not valid, that is not sound, that is not strong, that is not cogent. And this is important. I can't stress that enough, because had we learned how to think logically, January 6th never would have happened. When you get people that believe, I would be flabbergasted if there were to be a survey done of how many individuals involved in January 6th storming of the Capitol were Christian. That would be a good study for somebody to compile that data. How many of those involved in the storming of the Capitol on January 6, 2021 actually identified as Christians? Because then it will give credibility to what I'm telling you here. That I think that because we've allowed people to believe, we've even put them on a pedestal. We made it popular. We made it into a good thing, a desirable trait for people to believe the Bible on faith with no evidence. And so now that people take it a step further, you know, we want to, oh my, how did this happen? Well, hell, you've been allowing them to do it for hundreds of years since you started the country. And you've been pushing it as if it's a good thing. So now your chickens have come home to roost. It's fallacious thinking that led us to January 6th. So I know that there's maybe, you know, I think scandal sells, you know, so a lot of people may not endure or like this video, right? Because I'm not going into the QAnon shaman, and I'm not talking about all the conspiracy theories and giving you the tea, you know, the tea with the pink cap. I'm not giving you the tea. That's not what I'm interested in, and that's why was very reluctant to do a video about the storming of the Capitol until it kind of blew over. So I waited intentionally a month to do the video on February 6th because I wanted to give it time to blow over. Because I'm not the type to kind of jump on the bandwagon as soon as something happened and start spewing out my opinions about it with inadequate information and stuff. I'd be guilty of the same thing that I'm telling you led these people to do what they did. Some people are just impulsive. They see something they want to jump on right then and there. Why? Because the attraction is if I hit it now, everybody's going to be watching my video because it's hot right now. So I got to get in on it. Well, you also run the risk of making a bunch of assumptions. But you will be successful because this is my point. In America, we've learned not to look for the evidence. Just say it. You don't need no evidence to back that shit up. Just say it. You'll get 1 million views in 12 hours. Just say that shit. Get it off your chest. You know, and then later, you can backtrack and get even more views. Yeah, I'm not that type. So I waited a whole month before I even did a video dealing with the subject because I'm not one of those trendy type people. I'm not trying to get... Now, granted, I'd love to get 1 million views on a video. But I'd love to get 1 million views on a video that actually said something. That actually addressed an issue. And the issue behind January 6th is flawed reasoning. A bunch of people who were led to believe a bunch of things with absolutely no sufficient evidence. It was a CNN, if I'm not mistaken, did an interview with a lady out in South Carolina who came on. She was a mother, and she talked about how she was a QAnon follower, and she believed all of the stuff that they were saying. And once she saw Joe Biden actually get inaugurated, the light bulb went off that, hey, these people were wrong. They said he was not going to be inaugurated. And he was inaugurated. That's it. For me, I believed all of this stuff. You know, thinking we finna get taken over by China, thinking the military finna take over. You know, all of this stuff that I've been believing. I believed that on Inauguration Day, it was going to be an emergency broadcast, and they was going to show a bunch of executions and convictions and arrests of this satanic pedophile group and all of this. She said she believed all of it. And when it didn't happen, she made the rational decision that that's fake. It's false. All right? Because the evidence shows that it is. They said this would happen. It did not happen. Why would I continue believing it? It's like Christians with the rapture. I mean, how long have they been waiting for Jesus to part the clouds and come back and get their ass? You know, Christians, but I swear for Lord, I want him to hurry up and come get y'all ass too. Believe me, every day I crack my fucking kneecap, falling down to pray to God that he hurry up and come get y'all worrisome ass. Right? He ain't coming. That's the sad part. That's why my hair turning gray. Because he is not coming. And I know it. But y'all don't. Y'all still waiting on his ass. And this is what you would fall into if you was believing this QAnon stuff. They said it would happen. It didn't. So what do they have to do? They have to come out with a reason why it didn't happen and to say it's going to happen just at another time. And when that time comes, believe me, it's not going to happen. And then they're going to move the date back and say something else going to happen. And it is just a constantly moving the goalposts. Right? When you're looking at stuff scientifically, for a scientific hypothesis to become a theory, it has to be falsifiable. All right? It has to be falsifiable. Which means there has to be some scenario in which this is not and cannot be true. In some scenario. With this line of thinking, this QAnon stuff, they have an unfalsifiable position. You can never say that they're wrong. Why? Because they constantly move and shift everything. So they say, okay, Joe Biden's not going to be inaugurated. He gets inaugurated. And you say, ha, gotcha. Your ass was wrong. Ah, nope. That was a fake inauguration. Get the fuck out of here. Like, what will it take for them to say, yes, we were wrong? They never will, because their position is unfalsifiable, because they keep moving the goalposts. So you can't nail them down on anything, because they're going to keep, it's always an excuse. Why, nope, we were wrong. See? Because we changed this. And then when that don't happen, nope, we weren't wrong because we changed that. And it's unfalsifiable. So it's not scientific. It's nothing there that's logical or rational. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack from people who believe it, right? Because they're going to say, look at this article, look at this website, look at this, you know, and I'm fine going and looking at the stuff. I've looked at the stuff on adrenochrome. I've looked at the stuff on different people being clones. I looked at the stuff on the Constitution being fake. I've looked at a lot of evidence. I mean, hell, somewhere over here, I got a bunch of books on the Constitution and a bunch of other stuff that, you know, when you're talking about just evaluating the Constitution and the legitimacy of the Constitution and all of this kind of stuff, you know, I've looked into this stuff. And I'm not convinced that it's true. Listen, please, to what I just said. Rewind and hit double-click the little button. It's going to take you back 10 seconds. You'll hear it again. I am not convinced that it is true. Did I say that it's false? No. It is a difference. I'm saying I have not seen enough evidence to warrant me believing it. That is not the same as saying that it is not true. There's not been enough evidence presented to me that proves it to be true. So I withhold believing it until such time as sufficient evidence has been provided. I wish more of you guys would start to do that. Don't just believe it because it's interesting, because there's videos saying that it's true. And then in the video where you're listening to the claim, they say, hey, you don't believe me? Go to this website. No. Now, you don't get to tell me where to go to verify whether or not your information is true. That's not how this works. You're going to send me to an echo chamber. You're going to send me to somebody who believes the same stuff that you do. And when I go to the website, wow, lo and behold, they believe everything you believe. Like, that's not how this works. That's like Kenneth Copeland or R.W. Shambaugh. Y'all too young to know R.W. Shambaugh. Benny Hinn, T.D. Jakes. Like T.D. Jakes telling me, if you don't believe me, go to Paula White's website and you'll see. It's the same shit. Like, you ain't sending me nowhere. It's the same shit. This is not how we reach a conclusion. This is not how we reach truth. And I'm very concerned that as a nation, we've gotten away from, if we ever held to, using logic and reason to reach conclusions, waiting, withholding our belief until such time as sufficient evidence has been provided to warrant our belief. So I really think that this is the underlying cause to the January 6th storming of the Capitol. That was just a lot of flawed thinking. And you're going to see more episodes like this because people still don't know how to think. And listen, some crackpot is gonna say, there he is, he's telling you how to think, what to think. No, I'm not. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you that there is a way of thinking that is more prone, more reliable than another way. That's what I'm telling you. All right, that's a way to think about stuff that is more likely to get you to true conclusions than false ones. So please utilize logic and reason and evidence before believing in stuff. All right, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your children. You owe it to your country. Yeah, that's shit. That's about it, huh? 35 minutes in. I told you this would be a short video. I'm known for making short videos. So, hey, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And please, if you go in the comment section below, remember, I just finished talking about how to identify good arguments versus bad arguments. Don't go in the comment section spewing a bunch of shit that you got no evidence for. All right? If you hold to a belief, present your case in a civil manner. Present the argument. No ad hominem attacks and all of this shit. Just present the argument in a way that I can address it and leave it at that. Y'all, some people get on here and be like, "Oh, square here, motherfucker." You know, like, dude, what's the okay? All right, gotta giggle. I laugh at that shit and keep going. Like, come on, dude. I'm not that sensitive to where you just get on here and make jokes and I break down and stop making videos. Like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, that's so sixth grade. But if you got something to say, I really like to have conversations with my subscribers and even people who don't subscribe to the channel who just pop in from time to time to watch. And I will engage you in the comment section. So if you post something down there, when I see it, I will address it. I think my track record kind of speaks for itself for the most part. If you go through any comments on my videos, I directly respond to them. And I try to respond to each and every one of them. Now, when I see somebody who just come on just to say he dumb as shit, he don't know what the fuck he talking about, blah, blah, I usually delete that post. I'm not trying to censor you. You have a right to your opinion, right? But if what you saying is not gonna enrich the conversation or cause us to be engaged, if it's not adding anything to the conversation, then it's kind of pointless, right? So just hurling criticisms is not gonna get us anywhere. Present an argument, show me where I'm wrong, present the evidence, and let's move forward. Let's have an actual conversation. And believe me, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. I had somebody come on and make a comment. Now, the young lady who made the comment ended up deleting it before I ever got to see it. But it showed in my notifications, it showed what the comment was. But when I go to the comments, it was gone because she had deleted it. When I saw what she said, I went back and watched the video to see if what she was saying was accurate to the video, and it was. And I went to her page and apologized in her comments and thanked her for pointing that out because it was an error on my part. My ego ain't up there, man. That's not me. So I want to have conversations, but I want the conversations to be beneficial to everybody else as well. So you just get on here saying he's a orc. Get the fuck. I can choke that motherfucker. Like what? You say something worthwhile, and then we'll address it. Uh, but yeah, so that's my spiel on the Capitol, storming of the Capitol, and hopefully you got some out of it. 'Cause I do tend to ramble, and I talk slow. If you don't like it, take your ass to somebody else's channel, because this is what I do on mine. So yeah, there you have it.